Hi, it's Abby. I've been thinking about good old days. And what I realize is we're always in the good old days. I remember back in 1986 and 87, I lived up near Detroit and I worked about 8 miles from my job. I lived about 8 miles from where I worked. At that point, I didn't have a car. So I got a bicycle and I rode it on the freeway, 94 I think it was, for 6 miles. Number one, it was illegal. Number two, it was very dangerous. But I did it. I did it and I saved for a cash car. And I hated doing it when I did it. I brought a sandwich for lunch. I brought a canned drink. And I dropped my baby off at the babysitter's. I had a baby seat on the back. And off I went to work. And the car meant a whole lot to me when I finally saved the money for it. And it doesn't take as long when you're riding your bike every day thinking, I really need to get a car because it isn't safe. And I mean, the winters are pretty harsh up there. But I look back on it now and I learned perseverance. I learned to finish the goal that I started. And it was a long time ago. I bought a little 4-speed Toyota Corolla for $600. The fenders were rusty. The exhaust was loud because there was holes in it. And it was a 4-speed. So, it had a clutch. I don't know if I said the windshield was broken. And I drove that car for almost a year. And then I moved to Texas and I sold it for $600, the same amount that I had paid for it. So that was a win-win in my book. And I also remember my mom telling me, enjoy your children when they're little because they're not little for very long. And it's so true. And the peace of mind you have when you've got a baby and a toddler or two toddlers and elementary aged young children, knowing that when you give them a bath and they're thrilled to have new bath toys and just to spend time with you, read a book before bed and everyone's tucked in and they're safe. Because when they get older and they stay out late, you never know if they're safe, and sometimes they're not. So it's always important to enjoy whatever we're in at the moment, even if all the moments aren't good. Look at where you're at and think, everything is good right now, and I appreciate it. I also remember after my kids got a little older and I ended up being single, and I paid my rent, and I still had other bills due later in the month, but I had $7.28, and that had to last me for 2 weeks. I did have gas in my car, I had food in my apartment, but $7.28 doesn't buy very much. And I remember another night when it was probably in that same time period, I didn't have money to buy groceries with, and we were getting low, and I had enough money to buy a $1.99 Happy Meal so my daughter could eat, and then I didn't. And I look back on that as a good memory because I think I made a good choice. Even though it was fast food, she got food to eat. And it made me a strong person. It made me feel proud of myself that I found a way to get through until the next payday. And I wrote a few things down. I didn't think I'd remember everything. And all the days that were so busy of kids going to school, coming home, me working, and then we had get a snack, ball practice. Was it our turn to bring snacks and drinks, or do we just go and then come home and then we've got dinner, homework, baths, and then start all over the next day? But I was young enough and strong enough and energetic enough that I did it. I did it like a pro. I don't think I could today. And one more old story that I want to tell is from the 90s when I started my job. We were in an old building. The floor wasn't level. Where I worked was not climate controlled, and I had to lock my knee under the desk to keep the chair from rolling backwards. And I worked some long hours then because I took a position that a lady that had left on maternity leave had not come back from. So the job was from May to October behind. So there was a lot of paperwork to catch up on. And it was hot on the hot days and cold on the cold days. And in 2003, we got ready to leave the building. Everything, of course, got caught up. We got ready to leave the building. We were having a new one built, and it was almost finished. And my boss was super, super stressed out. And I walked into his office, and I said, "Is there anything I can do?" And he said, "Yeah, sit down." So I sat down at the desk across from him, and his monitor was facing him, and he turned it so we could both see it. And he said, "Help me look for the teapots." And I said, "What?" And he said, "It's a screensaver." And it was these pipes, and they went in all these different directions. And then a teapot would appear in the middle of these pipes. And maybe some of you remember that. And so I sat there with him, and I was like, "There's one, there's one, there's one," because the teapots, as I remember, were the same color as the pipes were. So you had to pay attention. You had to concentrate on it. And when you did, it made the stress leave because you focused on something different. And my whole point is to please find something that you can either think back on or that happened today or you're looking forward to tomorrow, and remember that they are the good old days. That's one thing I forgot to say. After we finished looking for the teapots, I said, we're going to this big fancy new building and we're all excited about it. But today, in this day, and the past years have been the good old days because we knew everybody's wives' and husbands' names and dogs' names and kids' names, city they lived in, and we got so big that we're lucky if we even know the first name of the people that we work with, especially in different departments. So I'm glad that I had those good old days when everything was small and we knew everybody and it was very, very personal. But sometimes the days seem like they roll together, one right after the other. It's the same as it was yesterday. But honestly, there has to be one small thing that sticks out. Whether you had a conversation with somebody in the store, you walked to the park and you met somebody, or you saw a beautiful flower in bloom. The temperature it is outside, like right now, it's probably about 78. It's overcast and it's windy, and we're supposed to have 2 days of rain. So I'm going to enjoy the weather right now while it's pleasant to sit outside, because I probably don't want to sit in the rain tomorrow. Thank you very much for stopping by and listening, and I look forward to next time. Bye.